Hi guys. For this video, I'm going to go over some really cool tips, or some, like, you can look at it as shortcuts in four of my favorite Google programs that I have learned over several years of just playing around and trying to make my life easier with these programs. The first one we're going to talk about is Google Drive. The second one we're going to mention is Google Sheets, then Google Docs, and then finally Google Slides. So we're going to jump right in. For Google Drive, here's my Google Drive here. I have it nice and organized. That's kind of what the main focus of Google Drive I was going to share, is trying to stay organized with it as much as possible. You can color code folders. Whenever you highlight over a folder, you can, let me zoom in a little bit here, you can click the More Actions button right here. And then if you go down to Organize, you can see that you can select a lot of different colors here. For me, as you can tell, in the previous years, I basically take everything from that previous year and just dump it into an old folder of that school year. And then I label it red, just knowing that, hey, I don't use this anymore, but just in case, it's there if I ever need to go back into it. For example, this year, I have already had to go back into last year's to reference a lesson plan. I have two folders here that are in green, and it's obviously these are the current school year. I keep one separate for lesson plans, and I keep the other one separate for any kind of documents that belong to those lesson plans. And then some other ones, I like to highlight the ones that are like really important, like please don't delete. Oh my gosh, it would be a nightmare if that happened, in yellow. And then I labeled the math one here blue, and the science one that I have here in purple. I do have I named it ZZ just because it would always stay at the end here. But just any kind of documents that I had to download, possibly for like temporary use, I just dumped them in there. Sometimes I go in there and clean up a little bit. But other than that, and then I do have a few documents that I have that are not in folders. For example, our planners here, we kind of use those daily. My seating chart, my calendars here, things like that that I touch constantly, I leave those here. And obviously, at the end of the school year, if they need to be thrown into a folder, I can. But that's pretty much it. And then when you do go into a folder, you can always go in here, and then you can. Sorry, there is a couple files here that I need to take care of. But you can, inside of folders, you can obviously make subfolders and then subfolders forever. But I basically label these just to try to stay organized more, and I know exactly where they are. Like I said, I need to clearly clean up some of this stuff here. Sometimes you get distracted and I forget, but it's better to try to stay organized. And I've done that now for several years, and it has helped me a bunch with my Google Drive. All right. Now moving on to Google Sheets. I'm going to say that Google Sheets is going to definitely be one of my favorites. And I pulled up an example of a fluency thing that I have, of some ways that you can excuse me, make your life a little easier when you are reading these. For example, the first one I'm talking about is freezing rows and columns. If you look here, I'm going to zoom in here on some of my students' names. If you see this like darker gray bar right here, this is indicating that the left here in orange color is frozen. So whenever I come down here, I can slide over and their names don't disappear. So whenever you're trying to pace over through a bunch of data, maybe you don't lose the students' names. You got to keep going back and forth and back and forth. You don't have to do that. And to do that, you just come up to view and then select freeze, and you can do 2 rows and up to 2 columns. I don't ever. I've never personally needed ever more than that. So if you did freeze rows, it would basically up top would also freeze, and those wouldn't move either. But I love freezing cells and rows and columns like this. The next thing is something that I had to investigate because I'm very organized and very OCD when it comes to things laying out perfectly. And it's the sizes of these cells. I know you can, it looks how big it looks. It might not turn out to how it looks like when you print it out on paper. Um, so I did like a very quick research on how it translates into like inches because I know paper is 8.5 by 11. And when you right click onto a cell name, you can come down here to where it says resize column, and you're going to click that. And here, the little menu comes up, and it says the fit to data or enter the size you want. Um, Here it says 50, and for me that's okay because I would never print this document. But if you knew that you wanted these columns to be 1 inch wide, you're like, well, I don't know what pixels are. Well, it turns out that 96 pixels equals 1 inch. So if that's what I wanted to do here, so I think I have down here. So I just made up some fake data here and used some of my students' names here. So if I knew I wanted all of these rows here to be 1 inch, because I have 8.5 inches to play with on a piece of paper, and let's say about an inch on each side, and I have 7 columns here. Well, what I can do is I can highlight all 7 here, and then just right click inside of one, and it basically takes care of all of them. See, it says resize columns A through G, and I'm going to click on that, and I want to see how it says right here. It's set at default 100. Well, I'm going to change that to 96. You can see that it prompted 96 because I use it a lot. And I'm going to click OK. And then whenever you come to the print part, automatically, well, let me switch it to portrait. It fits perfectly in here. Like each of these columns turn out to be 1 inch perfectly, which I love that because sometimes if you need things to fit perfectly, like 1 inch by 1 inch or something like that, you don't never know what fit to paper is actually going to do for you. So just know that 96 pixels equals 1 inch. And the other, well, this one it's kind of a two-parter here, but if you are trying to find the average of an assignment, I know sometimes Skyward can do this for you if you're putting in grades, but averages and even sums can be calculated very, very easily. I know when on iReady, if I'm trying to find out like what my whole class, how many lessons they passed, iReady does not tell me that. Well, you can download the document from iReady, and it's in like a Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, but it doesn't tell you that the total. So I always have to do this. So what you do is you grab all of the cells that you want to be averaged, and then you come up here to this little function button up here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more right here, and you click on it, and it's giving you these options here. Obviously, there are hundreds of options, but I use mostly just these top two here. And I'm going to click on average, and it automatically puts it right underneath of the last cell that I picked, and it's telling me average of C2 to C13, which this is C2 and this is C13. And then I'm just going to press enter. And the average for this fake assignment here would be like an 83.7. Let me fix that. That'll drive me crazy. Or I'll just, how about bump it down to the ones place. So 84. 84 would be the average of this assignment here. So the students did really well. And obviously you can come here and identify if a student here or maybe some of these other students got 70s, you could, pull for small group. And the other one over here on the other side, let's say lessons passed, if you wanted to just know a total sum, it's kind of the same idea. It even actually tells you down here what the sum is, but just to put it inside the cell, you hit sum, press enter, and it tells you right there. And actually, this what's nice about this is that it will stay. So let's say I added, let's say my first student here, she just passed 2 lessons, and now she's at 14. It automatically down here updates it. So it's a nice like just running update for you. But that's it for Google Sheets. If you ever need any other help with this, there's some other stuff that I could go really in depth with like color coding and all that conditioning stuff. But those are just some nice little cool tips that I like to use, and I use them very frequently. Moving on to Google Docs. On this one, I was having a little bit of a hard time figuring out, exactly what to do on here. And what I'm going to go over kind of applies to some of the other Google platforms like Sheets and Slides and things like that. But this is almost like something you could take, and if you need me to print you a copy of this, I'm more than happy to. And there are a lot more shortcuts here, but I just came up with some ones that I love. But actually, before I get into that, I'm going to talk about one really cool thing that Google Docs can do that the other programs can't do. And that is to set up a default font that you like. Anytime you ever open up a Google Sheets or Google Slides, automatically the font is set to like Arial 11 or Arial 12 or something like that. And me personally, I do not like Arial. And that's actually what this whole document right here is made out of. I bumped it up to 22 font size just to make it a little bigger for you guys to see. But I'm just not a fan of this font. So what I'm actually going to do here, let me fix that, is show you how to change all that. For me personally, I like Lexand. So what I'm going to do is come up here, and here's Lexand. There's obviously a lot of options that you can do with Lexand, but I'm just going to select Lexand by just regular Lexand. The one really good thing about Lexand is it is research based to have the best reading fluency. Like for example, the A's, like you can see right here in the word name, how the A is like more like an old English A, and sometimes students just run into those and they don't know what to do with them. Lexand has more of the circular A, lowercase a, and it just makes it where students can read it easier. But anyway, you come up here and let's say I'm going to select Lexand. And then if you want to make Lexand, and you can even change the font size too, but I'm going to leave it 22. But let's say I want to say Lexand 22 is what I want anytime I ever open up a Google Docs. I want this to always be my default. So what you're going to do is come over here to normal text, and you go down here to options, and then you're going to say save as my default styles. So for now on, Lexand 22 will always be my default. It will no longer be Arial 11. And you can always go in there and go to options and then reset if you want to start back over, anything like that. So I'm going to show you all the difference here. I'm going to highlight all this, and you can see that it's Arial, and I'm going to change it to Lexand. It didn't change like drastically. They're pretty close, but you can see like right here, the A is more the circular kind of A here. So the other thing in Google Docs is I'm going to talk about all these different shortcuts here. Basically, like if you wanted to select all of everything that's on your document, you just hold down Control and press A, and it highlights everything. To bold, it's the same thing kind of. Let's say I want to just bold the word bold. You're going to hit Control and press B. Italicize, you're going to control I. Underline is control U. Superscript, which is kind of like an exponent kind of setup. I'm going to put like just a little 3 here at the end. I'm going to highlight just the 3, and I'm going to hit control and then a period, and you'll see what it does. It bumps it up like a little exponent. Subscript is kind of the opposite of superscript. It's going to go to the bottom. So I'm going to hit control and then the comma, and it's going to put it down below. Strike through, the students use this a lot. I know like Star gives them this capability. Strike through, you're going to highlight, and this one's a little more unique, but it's Alt and Shift, and then press number 5, and it's going to strike through the name. Undo is my favorite thing ever. If you accidentally delete something, you can, let's say if I had the word here and I accidentally deleted it. Well, I can hit Control Z and it bumps it right back to where you were. Okay, I'm going to delete that. And then redo. Redo is the opposite of undo. Like if I typed, hello again, and I deleted it, and then I press Control Undo. I'm like, oh, and let's say if you had a couple undos and you went too far, you could press Control Y, and it goes right back to where it was deleted the thing before. A few more here. Reopen tab. Reopen tab actually is now one of my top 3 favorites. If you accidentally close out a tab, you can actually hit Control, Shift, and T, and it will bring that tab back open. My favorite, though, to use this is for the students. If you see a student that's possibly doing what they shouldn't be doing, which we all know that happens, and you kind of walk over there and give them some proximity, and they're like kind of like getting all shifty, and looks like they're trying to close something out, and you look at their screen and they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. If you go over to their Chromebook and hit Control Shift T, it will bring up the last, I think you can do like last 50 tabs they have opened. And sometimes you can find YouTube or whatever open. And I've caught several students doing that, and they're scared of Control Shift T. It's like a nightmare for them. So, and the last 3 they kind of go together, and it's the align left, center, and right. So you basically inside of the whole cell, you hold down Control Shift and then L is for left. I'm going to do this one to the right just so you can see. And if you press Control Shift L here, it'll bump it back to the left, which is like default basically. This one is Control Shift E. I don't know why. Oh, I know probably why. Is C probably has some other commands. But Control Shift. Here, I'm going to do L first to get it to the left, and then E will bring it right back to the middle. And same thing for right. You press R, and it bumps it to the right. So I love these commands. I use all these commands pretty regularly. I don't really use the superscript and subscript too much or strike through as much, but all the other ones I use almost daily. So I really like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that is pretty much it for Google Docs. And the last program, platform I'm going to look at is Google Slides. This one, I know it's blank, but I'm going to showcase a couple of things on here. The first thing is something I do immediately. I know the basic format let me move my screen of me over. Go down to File, go up to File, and then come down here to Page Setup. Because the default is widescreen, which is kind of set up for a TV. They're pretty widescreen, so that means a 16:9 ratio here. If you know that this is going to be printed out like on letter size paper, like 8.5 by 11, what you're going to do here is you're going to click there, and there's no option set up for that. And to me, it's very strange there's not, but you're going to have to go in here to custom. And this is where you can type in um, how big you want it. So if I wanted landscape, I would go 11 is across, and then 8.5 is what's going down. And you're going to hit apply, and there you go. This is the same what a piece of paper would look like. I wish there was a way to make that your default, but there is no way in Google Docs, or excuse me, Google Slides. I've looked it up several times, and I'm hoping they would update it, and they don't. It is what it is. Obviously, that doesn't take extreme amount of time, so not the end of the world. The next thing is, I know sometimes whenever you might be sharing a doc and people are like sliding things around and deleting things on accident, but if you have a background, I'm just going to use a color that you want it to stay there. Like you can just go in there, and you can even inside a background, you can add images. If you wanted an image there for the students to, if they're dragging things around and you don't want them to mess with the background, you can do that, and you cannot select it at all, which I love. I use background a lot. Uh, Let me see here. I'm going to drop in an image real quick. I'm just going to pull something like just silly off the internet here. So this little GIF here, I'll make it smaller here. So you can see though that it can be moved on this background and nothing gets messed with in the background. Now, if this is something that I wanted to possibly duplicate, okay, instead of having to go back in, insert, find the photo, what you can actually do here is select it and has that border around the edge, and press Control D, and actually that will duplicate. If you're not highlighting something and you press Control D, actually that will try to bookmark the this slide here. So that can just be done, accidentally. I'd still do it accidentally, but if you select on something and Control D, it'll make a million copies as far as you want. It can also work over here on slides, or on the slide deck over here on the left side. If you highlight it and press Control D, it will duplicate for you also. I'm going to select all these and delete them. All right. And the last thing is, if you are the kind of person that needs notes, which I am, you come down here and let's say this is the first slide to show the students. Okay. So this is the first slide to show the students. Let's say you needed to know that. Okay. And I'm going to print this out. Well, if you come up here to print, give it a second, and I don't see the notes. Well, I don't know what to do, right? Well, there's actually a way to print out the notes. So I'm going to hit cancel here. So it's not like a normal print here. You're going to go up here to File and go down to Print Preview. Okay, so this is what it looks like here. And now you can actually play around with a lot of options here. You can actually get rid of the backgrounds if you wanted to for just like printing ink purposes, but I'm going to leave it on there. Right here is the option though. One slide with notes. You can print without the notes if you wanted to, but here's the notes with it. And you can do like, let's say you were trying to fit 4 slides into one piece of paper. This would have 4 slides. The only one, though, that has the notes is the 1 slide per page. This is obviously for you, not for the students. So I know it's a little wasteful on the paper side, but it's okay. You can download it as a PDF. You can also hit the print button right here, and now you can see that your notes have generated for you. That is very helpful if you are the kind of person that needs notes in Google Slides. I'm going to close this out. Once again, this is pretty much the end, but if you need any more help with Google Slides, I'm pretty handy with Google Slides. There's a lot of other things that you can do, like layering items and things like that. Um, I'm more than willing to help. If you want me to make a video, I can do my best on that. Just give me a shout, and I don't mind helping. But thank you. Hope you enjoy the video.